Hello, I'm Dr. Sha-Rhonda Green. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. I have been practicing since 2004. I want to share with you about how to set boundaries like beyond guilt. Beyond guilt, setting boundaries for your emotional wellness, for your emotional health, and prioritizing your needs, wants, and desires so that you can say yes to yourself. So, what are boundaries? Boundaries are physical, emotional, and mental limits that define what we are and are not comfortable with. They help us to protect our time, our energy, and our well being. There are a couple of types of boundaries: physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, digital boundaries. Uh, Physical boundaries like personal space, touch, proximity, emotional boundaries, our labor, when emotional dumping, what we want to listen to, mental boundaries, limiting our own negative self talk, and setting realistic expectations or expectations as others may have of us and of ourselves, that we have of ourselves. Digital boundaries, your limits around emails, about how you respond to emails, when you respond to emails, when you respond to work emails, when you respond to text messages. Those social media limits, like how much time are you spending on social media? How much time are you spending away from that? And do you have your social media apps on your phone, or are they just you just have to log in to access them? So, some of the common boundary challenges for Black women in particular are uh, one, the fear of being seen as mean or selfish. A friend asks you to lend them money for the third time in a row. You feel pressure to say yes, but you're really struggling financially yourself, or you may not be struggling financially yourself. You may be like, okay, I'm trying to keep all my coins because you want to keep them. If you say no, you worry that your friend will think that you're mean or selfish, and then you start like maybe having survivor's guilt, like, oh gosh, like I make so much more money, I do this, and then you guilt yourself into giving someone money, and you're violating your own boundaries around what your financial priorities are and your boundaries around who gets to access your money and resources. Challenge number two: pressure to prioritize other people's needs over your own. A family member expects you to care for a loved one without offering any type of support or resources. You feel guilty for saying no, but you're already overwhelmed with your own responsibilities. And guess what? You don't even have to be overwhelmed with your own responsibilities. You could be like, that's not going to work for me. And you can say no, and you get to say yes at another time that feels right for you. So, anytime any of those boundaries, time, space, proximity, digital, like emotional bandwidth, even when you could do it, you get to still ask yourself, do you want to do it? So, difficulty saying no without feeling guilty. Like a colleague, a coworker asks you to take an extra project at work. You don't have the bandwidth, but you feel obligated to say yes because you're already facing a lot of microaggressions at work. You already feel like your work is under the microscope, and you have to say yes to this because some type of consequence or more consequences are going to happen other than what's already happening. When you try to say no, you feel guilty, and you worry about letting your colleagues down. What are they going to think about you as a Black woman? Are you a team player? And you remember that time that you spoke out and, gosh, like I really need to do this, whatever, because that's really going to get some type of a protection or buffer for you. So there's some challenges that Black women face when trying to like set boundaries. So how do you communicate your boundaries effectively? Using I statements instead of you always, you never, I can't believe you did that. Use I statements to express your feelings and needs. I feel overwhelmed when I have too many committees. Can we discuss prioritizing tasks? I feel overwhelmed when you say this. These are the things that I can do. These are the things that I won't do. I need some alone time to recharge. Can we schedule some time apart? I'm not comfortable discussing this topic. Can we agree to disagree? Hey, you won. You can just tell people, it's like, okay, you've won. I'm going to walk away from this. I don't want to discuss this anymore. And so, how do you handle resistance? Because this might be the first time that you're practicing saying no. This might be the second or third or fourth time. This with practicing your no outside of your circle or any place, any interpersonal relationship that you have. So when others resist or push back against your boundaries, just try to stay calm and assertive. Avoid justifying or explaining your boundaries. Reiterate your boundaries like firmly and clearly, and be willing to walk away or set consequences if necessary. So if someone is not listening to, hey, I cannot do this, and it's like, okay, I don't understand why you can't do this. I can't, and you doing all that. they are violating your boundary. The most beautiful thing that you can do for yourself is whisk yourself away, like just like walk away. Sometimes that's a digital boundary. You might have, there's certain situations or relationships that you're just going to have to kind of block so that you can stay within your boundary and decide how you want to proceed. Let a person's behaviors like show you about how they're respecting and honoring what you're saying. If they try to push against that, then a consequence of that is not having access to you, and whatever gradation that may mean. So, in summary, make sure that you understand that boundaries can be physical, can be emotional, can be even like your intellectual property. Like that's the mental part. Like digital. There's particular challenges for Black women, right? About fear of being mean or seen as selfish, or fear of feeling guilty or being ostracized. When you are communicating your boundaries, like use I statements and start practicing setting boundaries in your own life. Setting boundaries with yourself. When you say, oh, I'm going to go to bed at whatever time, start going to bed at time. Keep your promises and your boundaries to yourself. When you say that you're going to go do something for yourself, like if it's reading, if it's starting a hobby, like keep your boundaries with yourself so that when you practice them out external to yourself, then it just you keep getting opportunities to practice it. So if you are interested in sharing like challenging boundary situations or the pushback that you receive, please share that in the comments. I am Dr. Sha-Rhonda Green. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. I have been doing this since 2004. I'm especially passionate about helping Black women have emotional health and wellness and live their most awesome life. I hope you have a really amazing day. Take care.